I'm Dr. Sahakian, Sahakian, and I'm the medical director of Pacific Fertility Center in Los Angeles. Office is located in Westwood, California. The reason I think most couples will make the trip to the United States to use a third party, a donor or surrogate, I think the main reason is availability. It's much easier to find an egg donor or a surrogate legally in this country. In most of the states, let's take California for instance, it's pretty much safe. It's proven legally. It's totally proven. There's really no repercussions, long-term repercussions. There are hundreds and hundreds of egg donors in the state willing to donate eggs, so it's very easy to find a good match. It's very easy to pick a donor. And obviously, if it's not available in your country, then you're going to go where it's available. And because it's readily available in the United States, I think most patients from abroad will take a shot at this. We're talking about patients who need an egg donor or a surrogate or both. As I said, conventional IVF patients will not come to the States. It's very, very rare. Although we see it sporadically, it's not the norm. So let's say you're a recipient, which basically you're a patient who can get pregnant. You have nothing wrong with your uterus, but you need an egg donor because, let's say, the most common cause is age factor. You are 45, 46. You unfortunately do not have any more viable eggs, and you need to seek an egg donor to have a baby. So the first thing they will do is, let's say, contact the physician and say, okay, I'm 46 years old, I live in, let's say, France, and I need an egg donor. How can you help? Well, there are tons of agencies. We can give you the links. I give them several names of agencies. They will go ahead and hook up with through the internet, through those agencies, and let's say pick an egg donor. Now, while they're doing that, obviously, they have to go through a preliminary screening, so I will speak with them by phone, and it's invariably done by phone, by the way. The majority is done by telephone. So they will either inquire by internet by sending an email, or actually call the office and say, we need to speak to Dr. Sahakian, and we will set up an appointment free of charge. I will basically speak to them, determine the nature of the problem, and in this case, for instance, if they need an egg donor, it's pretty straightforward. You don't need to be rocket scientists to tell a 50-year-old you don't have eggs and you need an egg donor. Then I will basically email her a list of tests that she can do locally with her own gynecologist. Very simple. They have to do all the testing before they can proceed. They do all the testing while they're looking for an egg donor. Within usually 2 to 3 weeks, they've done all the testing, sent me all the results, and basically identified an agency they connect with, picked the donor, and I would say within a month or so, they are in the process of doing the treatment. So I can go further because I'm sure that's the next question, but basically how long would they have to be here and what does the treatment entail? Given the fact that the third party is in Los Angeles, let's say, or in the United States, such as the egg donor or the surrogate, there's only one party you're treating that's abroad. Now, in cases where you have, let's say, gay men who are seeking an egg donor and a surrogate, you don't even need the couple to be here all the time except to come and give sperm. We might dwell in that in a little bit. But typically you would like to have the patient here who's using an egg donor to stay in Los Angeles for 7 days or so, 7 to 10 days. IVF statistics have really changed over the last 2 to 3 years. I think we have gotten better in what we call IVF media, so where the eggs and the embryos are cultured in the laboratory. That variable has gotten really much better. So I believe actually that IVF pregnancy rates have stabilized. I don't think we will see much of an increase because we're limited by biology. So, I mean, you can do as good as an egg is. You can't do better than how good the egg is. And we're limited with the quality of the eggs based on age, etc. So I think we've reached a point where I do not expect major increases in pregnancy rates anymore in the next decade with IVF. I can honestly say that confidently. But we have reached a point where if all variables are adequate, you will have a baby. So if you use an egg donor and a surrogate, and you have a young donor, and obviously by definition a surrogate has to be healthy individual who can carry pregnancy. And if you have sperm, the only reason you won't have a child today would be financial, so that you cannot afford to do it, let's say, more than 1 or 2 tries. Otherwise, I would say 60 to 70% of the time you'll have a baby after the first attempt, and almost 90% within 3 attempts. Now, IVF pregnancies with your own eggs, conventional IVF, don't reach those statistics, because there you are hampered by many other variables, infertility variables. So there you're talking about age being the major determinant of success rates, and the younger you are, the higher the pregnancy rate. So if you're, let's say less than 30 years old, you're looking at 55% odds after 1 treatment cycle, probably 80% within 3 tries. And if you are in your late 30s, those statistics will drop into the 30%, 40% range. In general, very, very, very seldom a woman would get pregnant with her own eggs over the age of 43. So over the 19 years I've been doing this, I've had like a couple of patients who were 44 who got pregnant. I've had no one else get pregnant over that age. And I challenge anyone who can produce a number of patients who have gotten pregnant in that age group. And that's why at the age of 43 and over is when I recommend egg donation, being confident that you're not you don't want to let the patient down and tell her you need an egg donor and yet she has a chance. But when the odds are 1 in 200, 1 in 1,000, and there's so much money involved, you have to put the cost effectiveness in factor, as an important factor there. So I'd say over the age of 43, we would recommend egg donation. There are two parts as far as the fees are concerned when it comes to egg donation. And this is basically invariably the same with every clinic. What you pay the doctor to carry the in vitro fertilization process, and what you pay the agency, what I call egg donor related fees. So like when it comes to the doctor, you're paying for an in vitro cycle, and that price varies from doctor to doctor, but I would say it will average around $10,000 to $12,000. Discounts apply. There are different financial packages which I offer, for instance, the refund plan where you do it 3 times, and if it doesn't work, you get a major chunk of your money back. And then there are the egg donor related fees. Those entail egg donor compensation, which is the biggest variable, because that can go from $5,000 to $50,000 depending on which agency you use and what type of an egg donor you get, etc. But average probably $8,000 as far as compensating the donor. You have agency fees, probably $5,000 to $7,000, where you have to pay the egg donor agency the finder's fees. There are the egg donor testing fees, which run around $2,000. Egg donor medication around $3,000. So overall, if you do an egg donation cycle, you expect about $20,000, $17,000 to $20,000 that you will pay everything related to the egg donor. Add to that doctor fees. So it can reach from $25,000, $26,000 to $35,000 to do an egg donor cycle.